AITA for not allowing my Mill to sign my daughter up for a purity ball at her church. I've posted here before about my Mill, and now I'm back with another issue. My daughter Tess, 9F, has gone to church with Mill periodically since she was little. I don't love that, as I'm not a religious person and my Mill is an aggressive Baptist, but my husband thinks it's a good bonding activity and so I don't complain. Plus, it gives us adult time on Sundays. Well, because of the virus, services have gone online. Tess still goes over to Mill's place and helps her set up the laptop for them to watch together. She also zooms into a girls' Sunday school group after the service. Last week, Tess came home chattering about the ball, and how Mill is going to take her shopping at a fancy shopping center in our town. I thought she was playing an imagination game, so I just nodded along. Then, my husband chimed in to remind Tess that the budget is $50. I was super confused and asked him what was up. He gave me kind of a shady look and said that the girls' Sunday school class was having a dance this June. I asked him how COVID would affect that, and he didn't know. My spider senses were tingling, so I pulled him aside to the back porch. Eventually I gathered that he was talking about an annual purity ball for the 10 to 14-year-old girls. He said my Sil had done it in middle school and it was just a fun thing and not a big deal. I started blowing my top, to be honest, and I informed him that purity ideals are bad for girls. I thought we were on the same page about those topics, but he thinks it's just a fun thing for girls to do and get dressed up. My husband claims that he wasn't trying to hide it from me and that he thought I knew, given how popular the purity ball is at their church. I put my foot down and texted Mill to ask if she'd sign Tess up. She said not yet, and I made clear I wouldn't allow it. Period. Ever. Mill sent back her usual stuff implying that I'm a hoe who led her son down a bad road and I'm an unfit mother. AITA for forbidding the purity ball. The only reason I could be the asshole is I unilaterally decided against my husband's input, and I think Tess will be disappointed. NTA. Purity balls are creepy and weird. They also give people long-lasting issues around sex and intimacy, and in general sexualize young girls for no reason. Mill and husband had no right to promise her this without talking to you about it first. Unfortunately, she's already excited about the shopping and dressing up, so that's a whole other subject to broach. Yes, let's send our daughter somewhere where she's given a rose and told that represents her and then has the petals ripped off and is told that's what sex does to her value. That won't give her any lifelong hang-ups about sex. NTA. Your husband is the R here. He knowingly hid this from you, went behind your back and made these plans that he knew you did not agree with. Yeah, he claims he wasn't hiding it from me, but I have trouble believing it. NTA. Those things can get very creepy, very quickly. It's all dressed up to look harmless, but there's something about dressing little girls up in nice dresses that are frequently awfully reminiscent of wedding dresses, telling them that their virginity is the most valuable and important thing about them, and frequently promising their virginity to their fathers until their wedding day. That gets very squicky, very quickly. This kind of shit needs to stop. It's not harmless dress up for fun. It's a mind game and abusive misogyny hidden behind harmless looking sparkles. They promise to their dads in white dresses? What the fuck? That is next level creepy. Mill sent back her usual stuff implying that I'm a hoe who led her son down a bad road and I'm an unfit mother. And she's trying to brainwash your child into believing the same ugly, sexist things. Young girls should not be taught that their entire worth hinges on the state of a tiny residual flap of skin, and dressing the concept up in sequins and tulle doesn't change a damn thing. It's a gross, outdated, misogynistic concept, and I don't see how any parent who genuinely value their daughters would ever agree to participate. NTA. When it comes to matters of morality that you teach your kids, parents should be on the same page. It's a 2 yes/1 no kind of situation, and you are adamantly against it, so your husband is very wrong to try to go behind your back. Your daughter will probably be disappointed about not attending a party her friends get to attend, but she's old enough for you to explain that while you don't mind her going to fancy dances and parties in the future, that this party glorifies and celebrates a sentiment that is actually very anti-female. Tell her she deserves to define her own worth based on who she is and what's meaningful to her, and not on her value, or lack of, to boys or society at large. AITA for refusing to let neighbor borrow my husband for her lie. My husband, 42M, and I, 31M, live in a nice apartment. We aren't really friends with our neighbors, we're polite but that's about it. Our upstairs neighbor Kelly is a lesbian, closet, she only told us because she assumes all LGBT+ needs to be friends, who's never told her family. Well, she's been lying to her mother about having a boyfriend, by describing my husband, redhead, groomed beard, former Marine. She came to our apartment to ask a huge favor. Her mother was coming over to dinner. She needed my husband to act like her boyfriend and break up with her. I asked if she was serious, but told Kenny it's up to him. Kenny held up his hand to show his wedding ring and said only way it's coming off if someone chops the finger off, and no way is he going to act as her fill-in boyfriend or a cheating husband. Kelly begged us to reconsider but I told her no means no. She brought up that gays need to stick together but I hold firm, Kenny is my man. And he said no too. Kelly has since told her mom about being a lesbian and that made her mom leave without staying for dinner. Kelly told us. Kelly says we're both vicious asshole for forcing her to come out and we say we aren't because she lied about a man. AITA? NTA, lies have consequences. It totally sucks that her mother hurt her and that she felt she need to hide who she is, but she can't demand people come rescue her from her own lies. That boy's a keeper though, I can see the appeal. Smile. NTA, is Kelly a sitcom character? If she needed a pretend boyfriend that badly, she should have planned this a lot further in advance, and been prepared to pay an actual actor if necessary. Or at least had a good excuse lined up for why her imaginary dude couldn't make it to dinner. Or she could have just told the truth from the start. Nobody forced her to handle any of this the way she chose to handle it, and of course she has no one to blame but herself. NTA. There's a difference between solidarity and enabling. She easily could have used something else for her mom instead of a lie about your husband. I mean, if nothing else, COVID is the perfect excuse. OBF couldn't come after all. He thought he might have been exposed and is isolating. It's sad the poor woman has to make up a boyfriend to keep her mother happy. Why didn't she think of just telling her mom they broke up? Weary face. Or even the now normal sorry boyfriend might have been exposed so he couldn't make it. Excuse? NTA op. AITA for snapping at my classist roommate. I live in a house with 3 other people, all students. Last week one of our toilets got really clogged up, to the point that we could not fix it by ourselves and had to call a plumber. The plumber came and was working on it for an hour, for which he charged us €50. Since then, one of my roommates won't stop making comments about how expensive that is and that a plumber has no right to charge so much since he didn't go to college. The last comment on a long list of them was, if you can charge €50 an hour for fixing a toilet, why are we even studying? What? After this I couldn't hold it in anymore and finally snapped. I told her I think €50 is a more than reasonable price to deal with your literal shit. You can start working as a plumber right now if you think it's such a great deal. Nothing is stopping you. Now she won't speak to me because apparently I disrespected her, and my other roommates insist I should apologize because that was unnecessary. AITA here? NTA, and you are absolutely correct. His skilled labor is worth the money. If it wasn't, then she could take the €50 payment, do it herself, and end up taking significantly longer to do a worse job at a higher cost. Giant NTA, your roommate needs a reality check. People deserve a fair wage regardless of their academic achievements. She sounds super bitter and entitled. NTA. The plumber didn't earn $50. He charged for a service he provided and he will have to pay taxes, tools/materials and his ride to and from your location. Exactly. If I had to spend an hour fixing some stranger's toilet, I would charge much more. NTA, if she is only realizing now what people with a trade earn, she has led a very sheltered life. They have a different education, not an inferior one. People who work with their hands doing essential services are what keep our world ticking over, and the sooner she realizes it, the better.